Hello and welcome to this last episode of Copper Bottomed, the genuine and trustworthy look at the copper markets, the last episode for 2023. I'm recording this between Christmas and New Year. I'm reviewing the last few news releases that are being published by various companies. At the moment, the last few results are coming out, and a wee review of the year, the market, what we've seen on the macro front. In terms of the market, there are newspapers and news agencies that are now putting out reviews of the year. I've just kind of taken a couple of headlines. This one here is from the Financial Times. It says, hits and misses, range-bound copper brast us off, and flat oil flattered us. The Financial Times was bullish at the start of the year in terms of the copper price, and it hasn't really delivered in terms of it hasn't made significant gains. That's quite interesting, and I'll come on to that. Bloomberg note that nickel is the year's biggest metals loser, although I think if you went to look at something like lithium, you'd see that that's down a lot more than nickel, and copper manages a small gain. Really, the context of all of this is that demand was supposed to be very weak in 2023. There was this kind of great concern about the health of the global economy, with particular concerns about the strength of the Chinese economy. The Chinese property market was falling over, and I think really what we've seen all through this year is actually demand has stayed pretty strong. Right across the board. And already you're seeing things like this. China smelters cut Q1 copper guidance price as the supply outlook tightens. So the smelters are going to be making less money, which means that the copper price should do well. And there you go. The supply outlook tightens. So producers continually fail to deliver kind of new material. Demand continues to be strong. Metal prices, copper prices stay strong, even in a year when there's expected to be a downturn. I'm trying to battle my bias, my positivity towards copper, just by trying to look at the facts. But and then you see little headlines like this saying, Bougainville looking to reopen the mine that sparked Pacific Island civil war. Just the difficulty about bringing new mines into production. It's seen time and time and time again. If you have a look at these two metal charts, the one at the left here, this is the copper price for the year, and you can see that actually the observations made by the Financial Times and by Bloomberg are accurate, of course, as one would hope. The metal price has been relatively range bound. It's made a small gain on the year. We're sitting just under $4 per pound. But if you look at it on a 20-year basis, this is going back actually just over 20 years. This is kind of the start of 2002 here. Now, if you can remember all the way back to 2002, that was when China entered the World Trade Organization and the great demand surge came through. But actually, the metal price hasn't really varied that much since 2006, 2007. It's been around $4 per pound, but that's on a dollar basis. And of course, we've had these huge inflationary quantitative easing moments. First of all, around the global financial crisis, then through the subsequent 10 years after the global financial crisis, and then, of course, massively into COVID. So the copper price is flat in nominal terms, but in real terms, it's actually a very, very unchallenging price. And when you look at the difficulty of expanding supply, you look at the difficulty of maintaining supply, and let alone bringing in new sources of supply through new mines, which, as we know, takes 15, 16, 17 years to start, one really has to realize that the supply projections look incredibly tight, and demand, of course, still stays strong. And the more that governments push on the decarbonization, the electrification of our energy grid or our lives, the more copper that will be needed. So I'm still very positive about the general outlook for copper. This year has been pretty sideways, but in the sense that's been quite good. And I think we're beginning to see some interest now back into the junior space. And explorers, because that's where the real value is going to be made. Right, so talking of which, let's go straight on to the results of the last 2 weeks. From the 18th of December, we had Brixton Metals Corporation, Tribeca Resources, Benton Resources again, well, I'll talk about that later, Gladiator Metals, MTB Metals, and Barksdale Resources with a lowly 6 meters at 1% for a 6.6 grade meters intercept. And then in the Christmas week itself, actually this it came out on the 23rd, the Saturday the 23rd rather than Monday the 25th, we had Serabi Gold and Nicola Mining. So we've got a bunch of metal companies to talk about. Let's get straight in. Okay, Brixton Metals. I don't really know Brixton Metals. I was slightly surprised to see the market capitalization of $62 million Canadian. And then I looked at the 5-year price. A few of these price charts are screen grabs from Google. Some of them are Yahoo, which is my kind of preferred charting free app. But last week, or when I was preparing this, the Yahoo charting facility wasn't really working on the kind of at the level I wanted. So I've just got a few screen grabs from Google. I hope that's okay. But really, what you can see from this Brixton Metals share price is that for the last 4 years, it's been 4 or 5 years, it's been a bit of a disappointment. Yes, it had a price peak in at the time of kind of the gold high in the middle of 2020, but really it's been kind of on a slight downward trend since then. So I didn't, as I said, I didn't really know much about this company. I looked at the drill release, and of course the first thing I see is 248 meters of copper equivalent figure, which doesn't help me and it pisses me off. Sorry, language, it annoys me. Within 717 meters of another copper equivalent figure, which are, as we know, the wrong way to go. But it's very common with Canadian companies to do it. So I read on. They're pleased to announce the remaining 2023 drill results from its Camp Creek copper porphyry target on its wholly owned Thorn project, which is in northwest British Columbia, east of Juneau in Alaska. Right. So we know it's got kind of winter issues. It's right up there. Okay, step-out drilling. So these are the highlights. Step-out drilling has expanded the mineralization to a, let's call it a kilometre square area. That's fine. 717 meters of 0.2% copper. Okay. And 0.05 grams gold with some moly. Now, they didn't say from which depth it was. And I've kind of helpfully put in the from 885 meters. So this is a deep intersection. From 885, there's 717 meters. So this is kind of a 1.6 kilometer hole. I mean, these are deep. And then hole 277, remember that was hole 285. So there's lots of holes in between. There's kind of 8 holes here. And one highlight is from hole 277. It ended in 2 meters of 0.7% copper with strong porphyry indicators. And while the hole failed to reach its target depth, I mean, I goodness know what that target depth was, it's set up to wedge. Okay. Then the chairman and CEO. Chairman and CEO, I don't really like that relationship. It's not good corporate governance, but there we go. So chairman and CEO Gary Thompson stated, 2023, another successful year. We appear to have a large mineralized and alteration footprint with limited deep holes testing a buried system. I mean, talk about buried, that's deep. And they've got their financing, which is good. That's good to see that they've got $14 million in there. In the press release, there was a low resolution image, which I've just dropped in here, showing the location of the 2023 drilling, and the ones with the black lines around them show which are the current release. So 1, 2, 3, 4, which makes me think that there's 1, 2, 3 left to come. or perhaps they were released earlier, I'm not sure. But anyway, there were 4 holes released in this one, and this is what it looks like in cross-section with the rough shape of mineralization down at the bottom here. Now, this is deep stuff and low grade. And then I thought, well, crikey, how are they planning this? Well, what's the approach? I went into the presentation, and on slide 16, they talk about Camp Creek being a block cave target. What is block cave mining? It's underground bulk tonnage mining with typically production rates of 30,000 tons per day, 30 to 140,000 tons per day. I think the average of working block caves, I think it's 30,000 tons per day. I don't think it's anything bigger than that. It says cost effective for a large, deep ore body. I think you can add to that. Cost effective for a large, deep ore body with the right grades and with the right rock mechanics and with the right mineralogy. So it's not just about being large or deep. You've got to have the grade. And if you look at the porphyry projects that are currently using block cave techniques, you can see that the average grades are pretty high. Okay, so Cadia is 0.3% copper, 0.29% copper, and that's the lowest grade, I think, on this list. They have got all their infrastructure. They had all their infrastructure paid from the open pit and from the earlier stage mining. And so, in a sense, that's not a true picture. It's not a greenfield site here. But all of them have got pretty high grades. And if you look at 0.2 as being the highlight, you've got to think to yourself, oof, we need improvements on this before we are in the right zone. So what I would like to see from Brixton Metals is some high-grade elements and really being able to bulk out those high-grade elements, because at the moment, having deep, low-grade intersections doesn't quite make it. But there we go. Good luck. And I'd love them to put in the from twos when they're putting in their highlights on the first page. So onwards and upwards, they've got some funding, and I hope the 2024 drilling brings in grade as well. Right, Tribeca Resources. It's a relatively new company, $16 million market capitalization. They listed, I think, in 2020. Paul Gow and Thomas Schmidt. Matt has done an interview with them on Crux that I know. They're IOCG specialists, and here we go. Tribeca Resources drills 82 meters of 0.41% copper. That's good, within 224 meters of 0.31% copper. Great at its La Higuera copper gold project in northern Chile. Fine. Pleased to announce results from the first diamond hole of the phase 2 drilling program. So this is the first hole from phase 2. I seem to recall that phase 1 had a couple of good intersects. Here we go. Drill hole 8 intersected a thick interval of copper gold mineralization from the base of shallow gravel cover. There we go. So from 50 meters down hole, they hit 82 meters at 0.41%. That's great. That's really good from surface. 2 additional holes have been completed and are currently being logged and sampled. Good. Drilling continues with the key objective of the program being to test 650 meters of additional strike length at the northern end of the 1 kilometer long mineralized Gabby copper gold discovery. Good. And then I come to the concession and I look at this, and here they are. There's a kind of this little lobe off the top of their license area. I think, ooh, are they cramped? And looking at the scale, 500 meters, you can get a lot of, that's 5 football pitch lengths. You can get a lot of infrastructure into 500 meters, and this is a kilometer across. So they're not really cramped for space to the east, although this corridor is right up against their boundary. Look at where they put these drill pads on the concession boundary here. So they can't really step out and drill from someone else's property. So that's interesting. Yeah, I'd like to hear them talk about that and kind of the infrastructure. I think there's a road somewhere through here as well. So that would be good to learn more about. But really nice news release, good mineralization. So this hole, as I understand, from when I read through it, kind of looks as if it going. There we go. Here we go. It was a 50-meter step back from the previously reported hole 1. So, and it's confirmed the significant thickness of mineralization. So this was hole 1 here, boom, with lovely, great cross-section, by the way, guys. Congratulations, really good work. This was hole 1 last year, which had a really good intersect. And then this was the 50-meter step back. Interestingly, it comes down to here, and there was a fault here. And there was nothing under, not really much mineralization down here. So that's quite curious why that mineralization didn't continue. And if that fault is there, why, these are quite close, these areas. So there's lots more to understand. But my goodness, this is encouraging. And Dr. Paul Gow says, the first hole in this new drilling program hit a strong zone, strong magnetite breccia hosting well-developed copper-gold mineralization. That's interesting that it's hitting magnetite breccia, because I always thought with IOCGs that it was the demagnetization of the ironstone that went associated with the copper-gold mineralization. So this is obviously some kind of nuance here, because typically what you get is the hydrothermal fluids would kind of demagnetize and kind of give a hematitic replacement. But I look forward to, these guys are great geologists, so I really look forward to hearing them talk about it and understanding more about this geology. So what would I like to see? Personally, I'd like to learn more about the geology, but perhaps that's not so relevant for the bigger picture. But yes, I want to see strike continuity. I'd like to understand how they're going to tackle this proximity to the concession boundary. That'd be good to hear or read. But yeah, keep going. Good luck. I look forward to seeing the next 2 drill results. Great. Keep going, guys. Good stuff. Okay. Benton. Here we go. Another drill hole from Benton. Now, Matt did a interview with Stephen Stairs a couple of weeks ago, and I listened to it, and I'm really encouraged. I thought, wow, that was a great interview. It really gave some color on this drilling and what was going on. And I would like to talk to him. I'd like to do a kind of a technical interview that I think I would really enjoy that. The market capitalization is still only $29 million. Here we go. Look, I did this chart on the 20th of December. It was 16 cents. I think when I did the calculation, it was a day or two later. They've hit 18 meters at 3% copper for a 56 grade width thickness. Benton expands the Great Burnt Copper deposit with 3 new drill holes. Good. Right. Excellent assay results. South Central Newfoundland. The latest 3 drill holes, 9, 10, and 11. Highlights include hole 10, a wide interval of stringer disseminated semi-massive and massive sulfides grading 2.38% copper over 24 meters, including 3% over 18 meters. I mean, these are great results. This is very close to the surface. The company continues to be impressed with the success of its inaugural Phase 1 drill program. Not just the company, I am also impressed. The significant expansion of this high-grade system where it remains open up dip, down plunge, and a long strike. You can't ask for more. 9 and 11 also good, with hole 9 giving 3.5% copper over 8 meters, and hole 11 giving just under 2%, 1.9% over 16 meters. Love it. Stephen Stairs states, these latest results continue to demonstrate the potential for significant expansion of the robust system at Great Burnt. We are looking forward to further assay results as we prepare for our winter exploration program designed to expand the deposit. And then later in the news release, there was a note saying intervals for 2023 drilling are about 95% true width for holes 11, 12, 13, and 14, and about 70% of true width for the remaining holes. I don't know whether that's an orientation of the ore body or shallower holes. Now, strangely, I think the resolution of their long section in this news release is worse than in previous versions. I don't know why that is. So you can't actually, it's really hard to read the detail. However, what you can see is that the holes in red, this one, 1, 2, and 3, so holes 9, 10, and 11, are this star here, and this star here. So kind of quite a step out of this known mineralizing body. It's thick. It's a step out from known mineralization. And when I listened to the interview with Matt, I really got a better feeling for how this geology has not been followed up on, how the historic drilling is an indication of where mineralization at least is, but it doesn't give anything close to the full picture in terms of grade or thickness, or it hasn't defined the limits of mineralization, which is what what Benton Resources are doing now. I really, really like this. I just want to see more drilling. So keep them coming. We've got a few more holes. These ones in black, 1, 2, 3, and a bunch in here, which are still due to be released. We've got hole 21 here, hole 22, 20, 19. Yeah, so these ones in black are still to be released. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 more holes to come. Fantastic. These are good results, and I don't expect to see anything other than good results from this round of drilling because it's kind of within a proven system. I still would like to see some cross sections to understand what the relationship is, and listening to the interview with Matt, I'd also like to see some results from the drilling along strike. But there's so much more to come from this company. Go for it. Keep going. Right. Gladiator Metals Corp. I know we're going back a bit. This was released on the 11th of December, but it only came out 2 weeks ago, and so I've kind of included it in this year-end report. Gladiator discovers new zone of copper mineralization at Cowley Park. Highlights. Assays from 9 of 22 holes of a recently completed 4,000-meter diamond drill program were released. Significant intercepts include 26 meters at 1.49% copper plus moly from 98 meters depth. That's good. That's really good. Hole 23, 13 meters at 2% copper plus 0.1% moly. That's really good. 58 meters at 0.74. That's good. Plus 1.12% moly. That's really good. 7 meters at 1.5-ish. That's good. No moly grade in that. That's interesting. 16, hole 16, 58 meters at 0.6. These are good grades. You know, I'd never heard of this company before. It's got a lowly market capitalization of $19 million. It doesn't look as if it's been listed for very long. This is the 5-year chart, but it only goes back to 2021. It looks as if they came to market at around 30 cents, and they're currently trading at 42 cents. So really, really good stuff. Okay, so I was trying to, then I looked at this cross section. I thought, oh goodness, what's going on here? There's some kind of folded feature, and then the mineralization is very, very kind of strangely arrayed. Maybe, you know, I couldn't work it out. Is this mineralization? Is this a geophysical anomaly? It was all a bit, that's interesting, but I wanted more information. Right, so I read on. Shallow results confirm the continuity of shallow copper moly skarn mineralization. Okay, that explains a lot. Skarns, they are an alteration, kind of a contact metamorphism deposit where you've got acidic fluids hitting an alkali substrate, and the fluids get neutralized and the metals drop out. And it's all about fracture systems and fluid flows and where these fluids get to in the kind of deformed rock. They're structurally really complicated, and they're not, well, it's a fracture system perhaps more than the kind of the shear system, if you know what I mean. So it's a very strange morphology. The geometry of skarn deposits can be very, very complicated, as indeed can the mineralization. But they talk about copper and moly mineralization remaining open along strike and down dip in all directions. That's good. Gladiator also says it's fully funded to expand its ambitious exploration program. That's good. I don't know what the funding situation is, but the fact that they're stating it is good. So CEO Jason Bontempo says Drilling continues to define the continuity and the scale of high-grade copper mineralization at Cowley Park, as well as providing further definition to the potentially significant coincident molybdenum mineralization. And that's interesting there. He's saying it's not actually, or he's implying that it's not part of the same mineralizing event. It just seems to be kind of an overlay of moly mineralization, a kind of a secondary phase or a primary phase, but a phase of mineralization which came at a different time to the copper. They've discovered a new zone only 50 meters to the south of the historic drill area, highlights the exploration upside. And then he goes on to say, I look forward to reporting the remainder of the assays from the second drill campaign at Cowley in the coming weeks. I agree. I think those are going to be good. And it's really interesting. And then I didn't know anything about this. I went and I had a look at it, and I could see some of these historic drill holes, 90 meters at 1.9% copper from 26 meters depth. These are good grades, 10 meters at 7% copper, 23 meters at 3% copper. This is really interesting. Now, I'll watch this closely. Skarns have got really, really complicated mineralogy, typically. So as this develops, it'll be crucial to understand what the total copper grade is, what the soluble copper grade is, what the mineralogy of the mineral species is, how the copper and the moly behave metallurgically. Petrographic studies are going to be crucial here. But for me, this was a news release that kind of piqued my interest. These things are complicated. It's not like the Benton VMS, which is kind of generally much simpler. So Benton feels kind of much more a much more straightforward story, kind of structurally plainer, I think. And this is more amorphous. And anyway, it interested me, and I look forward to hearing more from them. I look forward to seeing those new assays. I looked at the presentation, and in fact, I took this slide from the presentation. There was much of interest. I would probably like to get them on to do an interview, because I don't know. There's only so much you can glean from a presentation. I wanted to actually hear the voice and hear the guy explaining it. But yeah, much to like, especially with a market cap of only $19 million. Right, so onwards. MTB Metals Corp. $9 million market cap. Oof. You look at the share price. Oof. I mean, that's flatlining. I mean, if that was a personal life support machine, you'd probably switch them off. But it's not. They live another day. It's an exploration company. And it says, drilling at MTB's Telegraph project confirms mineralization in line with Golden Triangle porphyry copper gold deposits. And that made me smile. I really like that, because my understanding of these Golden Triangle porphyry copper gold deposits is that they're pretty low grade. So if it's kind of in line with that, then it's going to be low grade. And look, first hole intersected 107 meters at 0.38% copper equivalent. Oh, it's a dagger to the heart when they do this. It drives me mad. Why do it? Why do it? Anyway, the drilling spans 3.3 kilometers of the dock trend, which remains open, and assays are pending on another 3 holes. Okay. First hole. The grade and thickness in this hole are comparable to those found in active mines. Let's have a look. Hole 1 intersected 107 meters of copper equivalent nonsense, which we need to go to the table 1 to look for details. And so I go to table 1, and there it is. 436 meters of 0.13% copper. Oof. That's low grade. Including 107 meters, here we go, at 0.26% copper. That's still low grade, even with a bit of gold kicking in. And then there's a note underneath which is saying recoveries are set at 100% for all metals for purposes of the copper equivalent calculation, as no metallurgical test data is available. Quite. And then he goes on to say copper equivalent is used for illustrative purposes only and does not imply that the metals are economically recoverable. Quite. Yeah. I mean, just don't do it. Anyway, I looked at the cross-section, and that's a fearsome slope, that is. My goodness me. That's you're going to need climbing equipment to get up there. I don't know how they got the drilling up there. And interestingly, is an combined IP anomaly, but they didn't drill up here. I wonder if that's because up here the drilling rig is it's too steep anyway. So I look at this and I think, yikes, it's the use of copper equivalents which kind of really puts me off at this first. It puts them in a negative position, and then they have to kind of win back my affection, and I haven't yet found the love for this. It's in the same region as 4 world-class deposits, and it says 4 holes were drilled in 2023 for a total of 2,100 meters, so kind of roughly 500-meter holes each. 3 separate targets. Hole 3 appears to be in the same target zone. Hole 2 and 4 tested 2 separate targets. Results for those 3 are pending. That'll be interesting. Even at this stage of exploration, says Lawrence Ralston, the CEO, we've confirmed a mineralized porphyry that carries significant grades of copper and gold. I would say just grades of copper and gold. Leave out the significant because it's not, I don't think. They provide strong encouragement that telegraph has potential in line with the other porphyry deposits in this area. Well, John Ryan, member of the advisory board, I've worked in multiple BC porphyry mines and led exploration programs on numerous porphyry systems. I consider these results to be extremely encouraging. I might just leave out the extremely and just call it encouraging. The grade and width of the intercepts is comparable to drill holes from active BC alkalic porphyry mines. That could well be true. You could well get, in an active mine, you could get intersections like this. But I think you would have paid off the capital or made the investment on higher grade kind of bulk tonnage. The fact that this was the first hole by the MTB Metals team speaks to the success of the team's systematic approach. Agreed. I've got no doubt that these guys are doing good work. And I don't want to cast any aspersions about the quality of the work they're doing. And I look forward to seeing what their next holds are. I just can't get too excited by BC low-grade porphyries, even though I know that some of them are in production. But yeah, up and at 'em. Keep going. Right, next. Okay, Barksdale Resources Corporation, another company I've never heard of. Market capitalization, $36 million, so hanging in there, not doing so badly. 5-year share price, not so bad, really, when you look at it. You know, they've held their ground. It's 49 cents, so let's call it 50 cents, and they were under 60 cents 5 years ago, which isn't anything, it's not pause for celebration, it's not value growth. However, it's not the disaster that many junior companies have faced in the last few years. Right, so rather uninspiring headline. It's a December drilling update. Barksdale Resources provides corporate update for the Sunnyside copper, lead, zinc, silver exploration project in Arizona. Arizona, we like Arizona. Tick. Okay, then the highlights. Hole 3 has crossed into the Paleozoic carbonate package at 1.2 kilometers underground. Yikes! And it's continuing to the targeted depth of 1.8 kilometers. Wow, these are deep. The drill hole is expected to cross the projection of multiple massive sulfide lenses over the next approximately 500 meters. Hole 2 was completed to 1.9 kilometers, having intercepted multiple zones of porphyry-related mineralization, including a shallow enrichment blanket veins and porphyry mineralization. And then the grades that follow from a 1.9 kilometer meter hole, 27 meters of secondary copper enrichment from 320. Assays are being rerun to lab quality control issues. I think they might have just been disappointed with the low grades they got the first time round. 6 meters of quartz monzonite, hosting 1%, hosting vein mineralization of 1% copper and 16 grams silver from 1.1 kilometers. Yikes. That's not going to cut the mustard. And then broad, low grade mineralization over about 150 meters. Crikey. My goodness. So that Rick Trotman, the president and CEO, says, I'm pleased to report that Barksdale has entered the targeted Paleozoic carbonate sequence, which is over here, I think, on this cross-section, which is the host for copper, zinc, lead, silver, CRD mineralization in the area, carbonate replacement deposit. Over the next 10 to 15 days, We anticipate that the hole will cross through the projection of multiple massive sulfide zones that were seen in a historic hole, TCH2, and Sun 3 will act as the mother hole for multiple wedge holes. Okay, I mean, this got me really thinking. And then they go on to say, given the limitations of the South Canyon rig to drill with HQ rods down to depth, which is HQ is the bigger core, probably what you need for wedging off. Following our experience with the large void in the boundary zone, see news release from October, we want to ensure future success, and we've been told by our drilling contractor, Boart Longyear, that a more powerful drill rig could be available soon, but then again, it could not be available soon. So I was thinking to myself, what are these guys up to? Because this just seems bonkers. And then I went to the presentation and I had a look around and looked at the website. It's kind of it's a neurology play. This line here represents the property boundary, and this was bought by South 32, and this was the Taylor deposit, which was bought for a couple of $2 billion, and then South 32 gave it a $1.3 billion write-down when the resources weren't that great. So, yikes. And then Barksdale can earn an initial 51% of Sunnyside over a 2-year period. Total commitment is $3.5 million cash, $12 million in exploration, and 15 million shares. Wowzers. And there's if you go into the presentation, there's a kind of a porphyry target here and a CRD target here. Right, well, let's see what the drilling gives. But it's going to need to be pretty inspiring. Right, on to I think the last two, is that right? Yes, the last two press releases, which came out just before Christmas or just after Christmas. Serabi Gold, a gold producer with a couple of small mines in Brazil, a pretty uninspiring share price. My views on gold producers, well, small miners, is that when you're a small miner, you're so busy running to stand still that you can never really make real progress. However, they do have this joint venture, an exploration joint venture with Vale on the Matilda project in Pará state, northern Brazil. I've looked at this before. I think the grades were pretty uninspiring then, and I wasn't quite so sure about the economics of it in terms of what the splits were with Vale. So that's something you would need to go and look at. It's slipped my mind. But the highlights of the news release seem to be a wrap-up of the drilling of the year. I think they were Sarabi was trying to get all 21 holes published, but they just kind of ran out of time, which is why this has got, if you see here, it's got 19 results of the 21 drill holes from the 21 holes that were drilled in this year. About 7,600 meters, 21 holes, so that's about 360 meters per hole. The first phase was holes 1 to 10, second phase holes 11 to 21, and based on soil geochemistry and 3 early holes. Right, so to date, 12 of the holes have returned 0.2% copper in downhole intervals of greater than 10 meters, so grade thicknesses of 2 or above. The second phase highlights included 21 meters at 0.4% copper and 0.1 grams gold from 95. That's useful. Hole 15, 25 meters at 0.34 plus 0.09 grams gold from 100 meters. And hole 16, 34 meters at 0.34 and 0.1 from 142. These are kind of shallowish. Okay, the drilling to date has delineated a shallow mineralized zone with an exploration target between 21 million tons at 0.4% copper up to 81 million tons at 0.28% copper. Oof, that's quite small, and it's not going to be big enough for Vale. Is it big enough to be economic? I don't know. I mean, 81 million tons at 0.28% copper, that would give you about 300,000 tons of contained copper, which is right on the lower end of what would be warranted as a development project. And that's at the top end of their exploration target. So a lot will depend on the infrastructure and the capex required to get this set up. Because if they're right next to power, road, and transport, and all of that good stuff, then it might work just at that size, just kind of ballpark. But if it's in the middle of the jungle, then that's not going to make things fly. But it's really good that they have spoken about this, and this thing is wide open. It's absolutely wide open. There's some good maps in this news release. They did talk about the strike extent. So there's lots of reasons for optimism, but that initial exploration target, it's a good target to have. Question mark, is it an economic threshold? I think you'd have to do more work to work out whether this is going to be a viable project. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't do the exploration, because it's through exploration that you can add tons to your exploration target, or you can add potential to your target zone. Right. And look, it just says here, this, it's a well-written news release. Sarabi states that this potential volume and grade is conceptual in nature, as insufficient exploration has been completed to define a mineral resource, and it is uncertain if a mineral resource will be delineated. All true, all good, well written. In November 2023, a large, or 26-kilometre terrestrial geophysics survey was completed as part of this exploration program, and they're going to test it in 2024. All good. Mike Hodgson, the CEO, says, we believe that the prospect is in its infancy, is much more to deliver. And then he goes on to say this: typically first stage drilling into the porphyry systems would be in the region of 15 to 20,000 meters. So we're delighted with these results after just 7,500 meters. That's interesting. I mean, yes. One of the things about a porphyry is that if you get onto something good, you can build tons really quickly. So you can get started into a system and get a lot of results from 7,500 meters. But he's absolutely right. These things do take a lot of drilling. So he's also suggesting that further results can come from deeper drilling. Yes, there's no reason why these things can't continue at depth. But this feels open. So early days, I don't know if it's going to have enough to change the share price. It may be that the two gold mines are able to produce on a steady state, and this could be a tiger that they got by the tail. I don't know. I look forward to more drill results. I look forward to the geophysics. They're on the they're doing good work. So yeah, keep going. Right. The last company today is Nicola Mining, a market capitalization of $43 million, which in itself is encouraging. But when you look at the share price chart, you think, oh, crikey, this doesn't trade at all. It's incredibly illiquid. No one seems to care. And it makes me think, well, who are the shareholders? Why is this $43 million and why is it public? Anyway, I had opened up the news release. Nicola Mining drilling program, new Craigmont copper project reveals significant porphyry-style alterations. Oh dear. You don't want that. You don't want to find alteration. You want to find mineralization. And alterations, any of the grammar seems a bit strange. Then I looked at the news release, and it's a classic kind of story from beginning to end with lots of geology. There's no synthesis. There's no summary on the first page. I basically had to go through the whole news release and just try and find keywords to do the job of doing the summary that a normally competent drafter would do. I don't want to be rude about Canadians. However, I've seen this many times with Canadian companies. It's just, they expect you to read right from the beginning to the end. Whereas in a time pressed world where people do not have a lot of time, we just want to have the summary. Just give us the summary and give it to us nice and easily digestible on the front page. This was hard work for me to get this information out. Anyway, they did 6 holes over 2,700 meters near an old copper deposit, and they were looking to explore the southeastern extension of the historic skarn and to investigate the potential of a porphyry copper system. Key findings: holes 1, 2, 3, and 4 to the southeast to test the skarn, and hole 1 hit weakly mineralized exoskarn. Holes 2, 3, and 4 hit alteration, but no skarn itself. So basically this is a miss. Hole Holes 5 and 6 were targeting the porphyry, and they hit extensive alteration and veinlets of chalcopyrite and molybdenite, with some zones of copper grade. And there's a hypothesis that there might be a porphyry center there. So again, another miss. And then exploration plan, more interpretation, bit of IP, drill holes, possibly later in the year. And then Mr. Espig, the CEO, said, overall, the program yielded encouraging results. Did it? Okay. While we would have liked to have seen more mineralization directly southeast of the historic pit, yes, we would have liked to have seen, or even some mineralization. The drilling northeast uncovered extensive alteration. Okay. And indicates the potential of other mineralization bodies. Okay, strange language. Particularly, we are extremely excited to see that the outcroppings, bad grammar, which we mapped extensively this time, coincide perfectly with cross-section diagrams displaying electromatic anomalies. Zorks. Good luck, is what I say. Not much to inspire me there, but perhaps they will find something next year. Anyway, good luck, everyone. Keep exploring. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you very much.